Yo, guys, back again today, and today we'll be talking about a very important man. If you don't know any other Pan-African man, such as myself, then you have to know about this guy, and, it will lead into you learning about other Pan-Africans, but you must know this man. He's a very important man, and today let's get right into it. Today we'll be talking about the General. Yes, the General Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. Garvey was one of the earliest black leaders to promote Pan-Africanism, in which inspired the Rastafarian movement as well as the Nation of Islam. Garvey advanced the idea and philosophy of Pan-Africanism. This movement inspired a mass global movement which is known as Garveyism. Though he was not the first Pan-African to produce a shipping company, he was the first to build a mass world movement around Pan-Africanism. Garvey also believed in a government for the whole African race, and that this government should be located in the motherland Africa. Race was first. It did not matter what part of the world you were from, what religion you were African first, then anything else that was attached to you due to the location in the world that you were at. We must also note that this was an amazing thing, especially how Marcus Garvey accomplished that task with no cell phones, social media, or technologies of today. Marcus Messiah Garvey was born in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica in 1887. He was one of 11 children, in which him and one of his sisters were the only ones to survive. His mother was a farmer and did some domestic work, while his father was a stonemason. Garvey's father influenced him to read a lot and had a large library, and this is where Garvey read at. In Garvey's younger life, he was a printer's apprentice and soon after left for Kingston, Jamaica, and became involved in union activities. In 1907, he took part in an unsuccessful printer strike, and this fueled him to become a political activist. Soon after, Garvey traveled around Central America writing about plantation workers who were getting exploited. He also traveled to London and attended Birkbeck College or the University of London and worked for the African Times, which promoted Pan-African nationalism. In 1912, Garvey returned to Jamaica and founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or the U.N.I.A. The goal of the organization was to unite all African peoples around the world and establish a government for themselves. At the time, Garvey wanted to speak with Booker T. Washington because Booker T. Washington was another Pan-African historical black leader who was an educator as well and founded the Tuskegee Institution. So in 1916, Garvey traveled to the United States to raise capital up to fund a similar institution such as Booker T. Washington's institution that we just spoke of in Jamaica. Garvey soon after settled in New York City and created a new chapter of the U.N.I.A. This chapter was created to promote separatist politics, economics, and philosophies for black people. Soon after, in 1918, Garvey published the Negro World, which was a widely distributed newspaper. In 1919, the Honorable Garvey created a shipping company called the Black Star Line. This was established, and this was for commerce and to trade between Africans in the Caribbean, America, Africa, Canada, and other parts of the world and the Americas. We must note that Marcus Garvey said that only people of African descent should return back to the motherland, Africa, if they were to be productive. If you weren't productive, Marcus Garvey said that if you're not productive in the Western world, then how could you be productive in Africa? So only people that would be productive of African descent should return to Africa and to contribute and help. Garvey also established the Negroes Factories Association, in which were companies that manufactured marketable commodities in every major industry center in Africa and the Western Hemisphere. In 1920, the U.N.I.A. held its first international convention in New York City in Madison Square Garden. This convention garnered thousands of people from around the world, and Marcus Garvey released the groundbreaking document, the International Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, and this was a very major event and document. This was the first major constitution put out by an African organization. Garvey and the U.N.I.A. also introduced the red, black, and green Pan-African flag, also known as the U.N.I.A. flag or the African American flag. Garvey also spoke of pride of one's African culture and history at this convention. Garvey had many oppositions, though. We have to understand many oppositions within his journey, and most of the oppositions came from the government as well as other leaders. W.e.d. Du Bois, another black leader, felt as if he should have been the new black leader, and Booker T. Washington should have appointed him to be the new black leader after he died. But due to Garvey's popularity, Garvey surpassed W.e.d. Du Bois and became the new popular black leader at the time. W.e.d. Du Bois was said to be an agent of the government and white elites, and he also disrupted Garvey projects in West Africa. He also was given ships to compete with Garvey on the ocean as well. Now we have to understand that Garvey was constantly under surveillance, and J. Edgar Hoover was fixated on ending Marcus Garvey and his ideas of creating a black worldwide nation as well as a armed black nation and having their own army. J. Edgar Hoover stated that Garvey was a notorious Negro agitator. J. Edgar Hoover also tried to find personal information to use against Garvey. Hoover even hired the first black FBI agent to spy and infiltrate Marcus Garvey's ranks. Let's also note in Africa that if you were caught reading Marcus Garvey's newspaper, you could be imprisoned or killed. Marcus Garvey also had the first black uniform women military wing. The CFR of the Rockefellers was also said to be created to disrupt the Marcus Garvey African programs as well. Spies in the U.N.I.A. and sabotage would all play a part into the decline of the Garvey movement. Some say Marcus Garvey did not know what he was doing with his ships and that some did not work on his Black Star Line. But in all reality, Captain Cockburn, who Garvey trusted to help buy these ships, was undercover for the FBI and influenced Garvey to buy faulty working ships. The FBI was watching Garvey even before he came into fame. We must note that the FBI was watching Garvey even before he came into fame, and these methods would be used on black leaders after Garvey as well. Soon after, in 1923, Garvey and 3 other U.N.I.A. officials were charged with mail fraud involving Garvey's Black Star Line. Garvey was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now, Garvey felt as if the government had targeted him, and they did. Garvey then appealed to be released, but his plea was rejected. In 1927, the President Calvin Coolidge commuted Garvey's sentence and ordered the immediate release. This was due to Marcus Garvey not being guilty, but we must note that he never reversed the charges. President Coolidge never reversed Marcus Garvey's charges, which is a major thing. Still, to this day, they have Garvey listed as a convicted criminal, even though he is not. Garvey was then told that he had to leave and was being deported back to Jamaica due to his prison sentence. Soon after, Garvey found out that he did not have to leave America, but at the time, it was too late and the U.S. never let him back in. In England, he continued to organize and had historical figures come to listen to him, such as Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya. Marcus Garvey died in London in 1940. No one really knows of what. Some say several strokes, others say heart attacks, others say that he was poisoned. He is regarded as a hero in Jamaica, America, Africa, and around the world. Garvey was an amazing man. We must understand that Garvey gave us an organization of 10 million people with no cell phones, no internet, and no planes. The U.N.I.A. had the first black butchers as well as universities. The African National Congress, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Nnamdi Zika, Hitler, Mussolini of Italy, Ho Chi Minh, and the Afghanistan revolutionary leaders all were influenced by Garveyism and led their people or oppressed a peoples using Garvey's tactics, ideology, and teachings. This is how powerful this man was and the U.N.I.A. was in the world. Other people such as Malcolm X and Mr. Muhammad, Elijah Poole, and the first meetings of the Nation of Islam came out of Marcus Garvey's University Liberty Hall. Even Martin Luther King was influenced by Marcus Garvey. Ghana named its soccer team the Black Stars after Marcus Garvey, Black Star Shipping, and its shipping line, the Black Star Line, in honor of Marcus Garvey as well. Garvey had chapters all around the world. Marcus Garvey trained the next generation as well with his book, The Course of Black Philosophy. So today, guys, we learned about such an important man, a man that probably doesn't get his just due in history, but in the African community around the world, African American, Jamaican, Africa, he's a very, very well known man. If you didn't know about him, now you know about him. So we must understand, like Garvey was trying to promote, that if we stick together as a people around the world, drop everything else. It's you as a people, me and you as a people around the world, in unity, as far as African people around the world, in America, in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, in India, in Brazil, in South America, we can get anything done. And yo, one love, I'm out. Peace.
What's up, what's up?
Hey.
Shalom.
What up?
Hi.
African.
We